Jesus Christ, Ivan. Get it together. You haven't uploaded a video in over a month. Your channel is dying again. And you need to upload something now. You have to think, man. You have to think. The fans need you and you need to step it up right now. Wait a second. Why didn't I think of this before? Oh, and next I can write this. Oh, this makes so much sense. I have so many ideas.
I got it!
Maybe this YouTube thing just isn't for me anymore. Maybe I should quit. I can't think of any good ideas because I don't have any good ideas.
Fuck.
When Mirror's Edge had first released, there wasn't a lot of buzz around it. This game was the first of its kind, so as most games, it was difficult to generate a lot of hype around it. Now as a kid, I didn't hear much about the game until later years where I began to see it all over different GameStops. Now the cover was an interesting one, as not many games have the main character death staring you the entire time. And this was eventually what led me to get the game. She wouldn't stop looking at me until I did. Now, if I'm being quite honest, the storyline is one of the most generic storylines I've ever seen. You play as Faith Connors, a part of a rebellion group named the Runners, who are fighting a corrupt government. There's a good guy trying to run against the evil mayor, so he gets killed, and then the hit is blamed on your sister. So you spend the rest of the game chasing down the killer and clearing your sister's name. Simple enough? Well, yeah, there's not much else to it. But if the storyline is really as bad as I say it is, well then why have I seen this game cover so much? Why have I heard so much about Mirror's Edge and how it's such a hidden gem? If the storyline for Mirror's Edge is one of the most generic you'll see, well then the gameplay is the complete opposite. It's actually one of the most unique experiences I've had in gaming. I think it's safe to say that most of us look at parkour and think, hey, this would be really cool to do if it didn't mean being in shape and risking my life. Well, this is it. And well, yeah, I really can't say that considering I've never done a bit of parkour in my life, but this game is intense. The button layout is different from most games, and the reasoning is because the gameplay is different from most other games. Jumping over obstacles, buildings, and even people is very exhilarating, and helps that the longer you run without hitting anything, the faster you go, and the game's effects really make you feel like you could lose everything in a single second. The game is supposed to be about free running your way out of tight situations, and while fighting back against the enemy is an option, after a couple missions you'll realize that you have the best chance to survive by escaping, and I was really surprised by that. Considering the fact that in any game that involves stealth, I usually ignore the rules and try and kill everyone, well this game, it impressed me just to know that this is an actual game that makes me want to play it right. The soundtrack to Mirror's Edge is also fantastic, as it lets you know when it's a calmer part of the level. There's sometimes some uplifting songs to let you enjoy the scenery, and it even gets just as intense as some of the levels in the game. So in conclusion, the game itself isn't perfect. I'm not going to sit here and say Mirror's Edge is the greatest game of all time, because it definitely has its flaws. The game was released in 2008. While the graphics haven't aged too poorly, the actual mechanics are something people who play current games will have to get used to. This game was the first of its kind, so the team at EA DICE had to be very ambitious to give it a shot. And with strong ambitions, not all things will go your way, but the gameplay does enough to make this a game that most people should try, especially now that it's more affordable than ever. Mirror's Edge gets an 8.7 out of 10.